years in the snack business. And yet he came in and he got it right. And today he's a market leader in terms of snacks. And so we had Mr. Ngabirano speak to us. And if you missed last week, please get a link. The link is available and be able to listen in, because they're very, very useful insights and tips that he shared. And so without wasting much time, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our speaker for today. Today we have Ms. Juliet Nakimuli Kasiita. She is the country manager for Sinapis Group Uganda. And this is a global organization that provides intensive entrepreneurship training blended with faith-based principles and access to capital. She's a graduate of Makerere University, and she has over 18 years experience in ICT service delivery, business operations, and entrepreneurship development in the banking, microfinance, and telecom industries. And so today, Juliet is also a certified financial literacy trainer. She is a business coach in her own right and a mentor for several businesses, development projects with individuals, companies, schools, government, and NGO. And so today, Juliet, with that rich experience, is going to share her knowledge and give insights on how to price your products and services right. Juliet, you are very welcome to take the floor and just share with the entrepreneurs. On this platform, we have business people from all over the country. Most of them are small and medium entrepreneurs. Some are starting, some are here to get inspired to start. Others are already in business. Others have been at it long and are struggling and are almost giving up. So we have a whole mix of entrepreneurs on this platform. And I pray that you speak to each one of them as you take us through this topic of how to price your products and services right. And so Juliet, you have the floor. And ladies and gentlemen, please, if you have any questions as she's speaking, just put them in the chat room. I will make sure we walk through all the questions, and Juliet should be able to respond to each of your questions. You're welcome, Madam Juliet Kasiita.
Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for hosting us this morning. We have not made contact, I think, in the last 2 years, thanks to COVID, but I'm so excited to see you this morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, entrepreneurs. I'm so privileged to be here. Like Rosemary mentioned, I have the privilege of overseeing an entrepreneur support organization that is basically passionate about providing training to entrepreneurs that Rosemary has mentioned, those that are struggling, those that are about to give up, those that are thinking of starting, those that have already scaled, all sorts of entrepreneurs in our ecosystem. Sinapis is privileged to take you on this journey because we believe that with professional training, with coaching, with mentorship, with access to capital, which are some of the products that we offer to you, you will be able to take this entrepreneurship journey to the next level. And the reason we are doing that is that we want to prepare all of you to be catalysts of change in the communities that you're in, and change that comes as a result of job creation. We believe that the more jobs that are created by each one of you as entrepreneurs, the better this country is. And as we do that, we are going to all rally behind the mass movement of poverty alleviation and poverty eradication in this country. So I come from that view, where I am saying it's not that we have all the answers to everyone, to every business. All our businesses are unique and exceptional, but we can share insights together. We can share tips that have worked over a period of time. We can handhold you. We can work with you at the end of the day as a unique entrepreneur, as a unique industry, to make sure that your business becomes a success. We do not want, we aspire to make sure that you do not give up on this journey. There is hope along the way. So today I am privileged to be able to talk to you through an area that, like Rosemary has said, many entrepreneurs usually don't pay attention to, and yet it is actually very critical that we are able to look at how we are pricing our products. Many of us have made mistakes, most especially, you know, in certain areas. Like she said, you're going to price because of your competitor. I've had people who talk about pricing based on excitement, based on peer pressure. I do not know where you're coming from when it comes to pricing, but today we are going to look at a couple of tips. This is a critical topic, sometimes even in Sinapis or in other areas, and I believe even at Enterprise Uganda, we might have to even get our books, our calculators, and look at a few things. I promise that on this call, we might not completely dive into all the calculations and everything, but I'm happy to support even after the call. I'm happy to invite you to our spaces for us to be able to walk this with you, but I'll try as much as possible to go through every other area that you need to focus on as we start on this particular journey of pricing. Allow me to just share my screen so that we can go through a couple of things with you together. Give me a thumbs up, give me, you know, whichever emoji that comes with your acceptance that you're able to see my screen, that you're able to, thank you, Rosemary, that you're able to follow. Yeah, thank you that you're able to follow. We are in the spaces of virtual connectivity and all those other things. So sometimes you get notifications. I actually just got one recently as I was speaking that my internet is not stable. So at some point, probably just to ensure that I have bandwidth, I might also have to take off my video, but please allow. I know you know that right now you're not talking to a machine, you're actually talking to an individual at the end of the day that you've been able to see. So I wanted to note with the rest of us, like Rosemary has said, we are coming here to share. We are coming here to, you know, be able to go through a couple of. So I ask that make sure that you pick, even if you pick just that one thing that is going to work for you, pick what works for your business. Our businesses are unique, our markets are unique, our industries are unique. I've had there are entrepreneurs of all stages, of all forms, and I want us to apply today's sharing based on where you're at, not based on the example probably I might give, but based on where you're at. And as we share this, I usually say it might not come as 100%. Sometimes it does. It might not come as 100%, but all I know is that the insights that we are going to share will be able to improve your business, especially focusing on your pricing strategy. So today's session, like I've mentioned, I want us to focus on how do you get to price your products. Oh, by the way, I also want to remind you, as I go along, please make an effort to type your question, to write it down in the chat box or probably in your notebook. I'll have some time to answer a couple of questions, share a couple of further examples in the event that we have enough time. And even if I don't, I've shared my contact. Please follow up with Sinapis. We'll be happy to help. Yeah, so my hope is that even as we get off this call, as you go among the many things that I'm talking about today, you will be at a point as a business, as an individual, as a conglomerate, whatever you are, whatever you're representing today, you'll be able to identify your typical offering, because pricing is critical to knowing what am I bringing to the market. So I love to teach. I'm a facilitator, I'm a trainer. So I also want to take you on a journey of reflection as we share. What is your typical offering? What are you bringing to the market? Because that is critical for us to start even talking about pricing. At the end of the day, I want you to be able at the end of this call to be able to sit down and identify your cost of production, because it's such a critical issue when we talk about pricing, among the many other things that we are going to talk about. And especially if we are talking about pricing that is coming from an angle of profitability and growth, I want you to pay attention to your cost of production. So we are going to have a couple of reflections reflections even along the way, where I want you to start imagining and going back to your business. And this is where I say that you need to be practical. At Sinapis, we say as an entrepreneur, you need to be practical. I want you to take that journey and those thoughts deep down within your business and say, what does this look like? We had a saying where they say, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. So if you even don't know, if you don't have a glimpse of your cost production, that means that we don't know our business. But that doesn't mean that we've lost hope. On this call, we can be able to walk that journey. And then finally, I believe that as we look through these things, you are going to be able to set at least, and I mark the word at least a right price for your product, for your service, or you will be close to setting prices that are taking you towards profitability, because that is the real game changer we want to have in business. So even as I talk through, I want you to start reflecting, or even use the chat box. I know Rosemary will be watching the chat box. Let's just take a little bit of the poll and reflect on our areas and where you are. As you came onto this call, where do you fall? What is it that you're selling? Remember, I said our typical offering. Are you selling a product? Are you selling a service? Do you have both at the end of the day? Because these are also critical, even as we talk about setting the right prices for our businesses. So just in the chat box, let us know. It could be that you have both a product and a service, or just one. I come from a space where in some areas as an entrepreneur, I'm providing a service. When I provide business consulting, I'm providing a service. Yet when I am in other spaces of my have a product. So I could double as a person who is on both angles. But we just want to hear from you, because it also defines how we shall help you on this call. So today you're going to be seated here all this time listening to prices. Why should we even pay attention to the pricing? A couple of interesting statistics came my way a few days ago, or even in the journey that I've been on supporting entrepreneurs and also running my own businesses, where we talk about alarming numbers, but also numbers that have provided certain data that requires us to think, me and you, to come to the table and think either a better way of doing things, or think about alternatives, or even keeping what is best at bay. And like I said, that many of you had me talk about something that was where I think Rosemary introduced that I have background in technology, and I'm trying to be able to see how can we leverage on technology to be able to make our businesses better and profitable. And one of the things that we work a lot with in technology is data. I love looking at the numbers, and based on the numbers, I'll be able to say we have a problem or we don't have a problem. So these numbers also drive an activity there for us. I read in one of the insights, one of the reports, saying that 29% of startups are failing because they run out of cash. And that is a critical issue that we need to look at, because we don't want to see these enterprises also failing. So we need to find out why are they running out of cash? There are a couple of issues that are coming into the business, and we need to provide a solution. Remember, as entrepreneurs, we are solution providers. We provide solutions for profit, and we need to come in. I also saw this particular gentleman, Simon, and one of his partners in their business saying 97% of all pricing increases are failing. Like every time we get into a space of saying, oh, we are going to review our prices, we want to review our prices, they are saying that almost 97% of us get it wrong. We are failing. And that means that there are certain things, there are certain strategies, there are certain models, there are certain areas we have not been able to pay attention to, and those are affecting even our efforts to review our strategies. And then the last one that I read coming from this great businessman called Stephen King, and he said 82% of businesses fail due to cash flow issues. I think that one, even the percentage gets higher in some of our own spaces, in some of our industries. And then and therefore looking at some of those areas, we need to take action. If we have more than 80 businesses failing due to cash flow issues, we need to be able to sit down and say, why is this happening at the end of the day? And that is going to take us to the good question of why should we even focus on pricing? What is pricing anyway? You all know what pricing is for the people that have started businesses. You know the process that you've taken to even set certain prices for your products and services. Like we were saying, some of us have been driven by our competition. Others have been driven by just advice. Someone comes to you and says, oh, a plate of food is 25 on the market, whether it's verified or not, then you will be able to say, okay, I think even mine can be 20 or 25. There are so many things that have informed the way we set our prices. But here we are coming together to say, what does that process look like? What is the price anyway at the end of the day? Because if you understand that a price is compensation that is given in return for your good, then you're just not going to sit and allow someone to give you information that is not verified. You will not sit and not do market research. You will definitely be focused on seeing how you arrive at the good price, because you know it's your compensation. It's a return on what you're bringing to the market. And when you kind of know that, when you get to that space, then you're going to be critical on even how you set your products. My mentor usually tells me that price is a language of the market price. And I have come to believe that, at the marketplace, I've come to believe that as an entrepreneur support organization, as an individual, as I speak to the people, when your prices are wrong, when your prices are slacking, when your prices are shaky, when you have issues around that area, then the marketplace becomes a challenging space. And that's why we say that it becomes so complex. And then you find some people actually choosing to give up. So what are some of those things that we can be able to look at the end of the day and say, I am close to getting it right, or I am close to making sure that I'm pricing well and I can revisit this. So I talked about a unit offering. There has to be, something that you're producing. I love to use examples that are close to us. And in all my sessions or my classes, some people, even some of my students that are here, have heard me talk about cakes. So I talk about cakes as examples, not because I'm a baker, but I love eating cake. But also because I've interacted with the businesses that are in those spaces. So I usually use an example of, for example, if you're into baking, probably you have cakes, you have pastries that become your products. If you're into photography, you provide a service at the end of the day to your customers as you take those photos, as you take those documentaries. So I want to go back and take a reflection to each of us as business owners. Remember, I said today we are also going to be taking reflections. Are you selling more than one thing? Look at yourself. For the people that said, I'm into a product, I've seen a couple of responses here. I'm into a product, I'm into a service. Are you selling more than one thing? You could be able to, for example, I have a cafe. I would say I have tea, I have coffee, and then on top of that, I have cakes, I have pastries. And when you're looking at all these things, the things that you're selling, the different categories, do they come with one price? Do they come with different prices? So as an individual, again, I said, where you're seated at, where you are in your business, start looking at some of these things. Is it just one item, which is a cake? Is it just one service, which is photography? Are you selling items from different categories? For example, like I said, you could be having a cake, and then on top of the cake, you have a baking class, a baking academy, where you train people to actually come and bake. You could be into bakery, and you're just not doing cakes, but you're also doing bakery as equipment, assortments, like you can provide people with baking equipment. So are you having different categories of part of that service that you're definitely offering? And then as you reflect on that, on each of those, does every item that you have a different service? Let's look at a photographer. and I've seen some photographers on the call today. You are into photography services. Are you getting into places? I've seen you guys these days go for cover events, baby showers, you know, wedding showers, engagements and everything. So are you just doing services where you know, I'll come and cover your event? Or you could say, as I cover your event, I can also do mounted photos. I just don't do photos and send them maybe on a soft copy or whatsoever, which we prefer these days. On top of that, I can actually be able to get some good photos for you on some good frames and everything. And another one will say, okay, even on top of that, I can actually come and say, or I could even be able to script out and try to create a video for you from those particular photos. So what are some of those different categories that you are offering? And as you look back, does every item have a different price range? And what informed your decision on each of those? So if you started making cakes and later realized I need to have a baking school or a baking academy, what informed the decisions that took you onto that journey? And this is where I say, let's reflect. Some reflection will be right on the call, other reflections will be after the call. So like I said, focus on your typical offering. I have a cake, or I have cakes and baking classes. I have photography. I have photography, mounted pictures, and all these other things. What is that typical offering? And I'm going to ask, does it make sense for you in your business? Please make the chat box busy as I ask some of these questions. We are reflecting on. I also want to get to know where you're at as a business. Are you clear on that typical offering? And if you are you making business? Do you think you have the right price for each of those services that you have later? I mean, you are providing at the end of the day. And then even as we leave this call, I usually say, let's reflect further. Should I sell one item or several items from different categories? The reason why some of us are failing to be profitable in some spaces, it's because we are not looking at some of these areas. You are stuck on one offering, which is a cake. And whether the cake is making you profitable or you have actually a price miss, you're just stuck somewhere there on the cake. But I want you to reflect further as you go. Am I selling one item? Can I sell several items within what the service that I'm providing? Should I set different price ranges for each product? Because that is also critical. If you've just set up one price for each of them, then there are questions or there are concerns that are going to come our way. I would like to see some emojis, like I said, to ensure that we are all following and we are going together on this journey of even coming together to understand what our right priced offering should be. So please take an effort and make a little bit of reflections on those areas that I've mentioned. Yeah. So what are some of the things we need to consider when we are pricing? There are many, many things that can be considered when we are pricing. Remember, I said it depends on the industry that you're in, the phase of the business. Rosemary mentioned some of us are starting. Some of us started already. You know, some of us are like my former speaker, a great friend, Mr. Ngabirano. You are on the journey. You have moved a bit. You have had a milestone. Others are just at a place of thinking through all these ideas. Should I go into photography? Others have attempted to get into photography. So these things that we consider will also vary based on many, many other factors. Is my business already am I already in business? Have I scaled? Am I earning? Have I sold a couple of my products at a particular place? Which industry am I in? People in photography are not going to price the way, like I said, people in services do not price the way people in products are servicing and are pricing at the end of the day. So are you able to look at a couple of those things and be able to tell, you know, this is the space that I need to come in? Even as I look at my typical offering, this is how I arrived at my price. So I just highlighted a couple of things. And even as we go along, we'll be talking about other areas. Some of them are even price considerations that you guys have made that might not be listed here, but very pertinent and also have lessons to learn from. So number one, I usually say your cost of production. I can't re-emphasize this more. It is a key area, even as we look at our pricing, our strategies, and how we arrive at our strategy also has a lot to do with this area. What is the total cost of you running the business? I have met so many people that negate this area. Every time you get to price your product below your cost price, I mean, your cost of production, other factors constant, you're digging a grave to that business. And you are one of the people that is taking us to that particular statistic that usually says that our businesses do not survive the first year or the 5th year of their anniversary because of the so many factors, and this can be one of them. If your pricing, if your price currently does not factor into your cost of production being your fixed costs, your variable costs, every other cost that gets into you getting us that good, that particular product and that service, then we have a challenge and we need to be talking on this call or even after. Number two, we talk about competitors' pricing. My co-host mentioned this earlier. Is your price driven by the competition that is in the space? And this is a good space that is also pertinent for us to look at the end of the day. If I'm into cakes, I need to be able to evaluate and see, okay, how much does a 2-tier cake, a 3-tier cake cost on the market currently? And I could be benchmarking myself with competitors that are almost providing either something similar to what I'm providing or even much better. So some people have come to look at their pricing, just looking at competitors, but looking at your competitors alone is not sustainable. Look at the market demand. Is there a demand for my photography? Is there a demand for my cakes? Is there a demand for baking classes? Am I coming up with a baking academy because it's fancy to have? What is informing that? And then your target customers and their spending power. I usually talk about this in the Sinapis classes. The kind of customers, and let's take a reflection once again for all of us that are on the call. The kind of customers that you are having currently, are they willing to pay for your cakes? You know, I know you've gone through these sessions in different angles where you look at your segments. Do they have the budget to pay for your cakes? Are they the kind of people that will take your photography? Are they the kind of people that will take your coffee at the end of the day? Are they the people that will test your tea in your whatever business that you're in? Are they the people that will come for your consulting as a business consultant or whichever business development person or lead? Do you have a target customer? You know, have you targeted people who have spending power? Because if you target people who don't have spending power, then certain things are going to come into play. I usually say that target customers based on also certain values. Some customers prefer value and some customers prefer luxury. So you have to price your product to match the type of customer that you are targeting. If you're targeting Julie, who is focused on just an experience or having value out of the product, it might require a different strategy. But if you're looking at someone who is looking at less of the value, I just want, you know, probably I don't care if it is good value and everything as long as I get hold of it. That particular person also needs to be targeted in a different way, and a different pricing strategy might be able to play at hand. I saw someone who said they are not able to hear. I think you might have to probably log in and log out. I don't know if I lost anyone. But I hope I'm still clear to the rest of the team. Apologies about that, gentleman. Probably you might have to refresh and get on. All right.
We are good, Madam Speaker. We are good.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that confirmation. Yeah, and then, like I said, we talk about the value of the product. What are you bringing onto the market? You are not going to bring a substandard product and, you know, attach a certain price that when the customer looks at it, they are like, for me, I think this is a rip-off. So what benefit, what value is coming out of that product is going to define a lot of even the pricing strategy that you come up to. Surprisingly, we as the customers, we actually pay attention to many of these things, but most especially, I think we pay attention to the value because we want the best coming out of our own spending power. So these are areas that I've already talked about. Your price tags have to pay attention to your costs of production. Cost of production, we look at particular things, like I said, your fixed costs, which you're all aware of. You're in business, you know this. I put a note here and I said, don't set your price below your cost of production, because many times if other factors are not also considered, you will be digging a grave for the business too, actually, because many times you find that you're working at a loss. You are working at, I think it's Rosemary who mentioned, like, it's charity. You're just, I'm offering this, please take over and all that, but you will not probably be a profitable business. Yet here we are saying we want you to be able to evidence growth and profitability at the end of the day. So my reflection questions come through. Entrepreneurs, dear entrepreneurs, fellow entrepreneurs, go back and look, what are my current costs of production in my business? And then later, I want you to again focus, how much do I spend to produce my product, that cake that I spoke about, to produce my service, that photography, that business consulting, whichever that you're doing, and how can I reduce my cost of production? Sometimes it's important that you revisit that area, because it's, like we shall see later in certain strategies, it could be the cause of why your product is being even negated or rejected by the customers on the market. You could be pricing so highly because of your cost of production and then losing deals and making us move to the competition. So entrepreneur, our reflection questions again, what are your current costs? How do you make sure that you actually reduce, having seen, because you only get to come up with mitigations of reducing costs of production if you know how much you spend. Remember, I said, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. And if you don't know your business, you don't own a business. You just have a hobby that you're trying to invest in. Competition, I've already spoken about this. People and businesses that are providing similar products and services. Here, like I told you, I love cake, so I went and I just focused on a couple of cake providers that many of you might know. So look at all these people. For supposing I'm called Juice Cakes, and I'm getting into these businesses, sometimes I need to be able to benchmark against these people. And this is on an assumption that Juice Cakes is also probably targeting either a similar segment that Bake For Me is looking at, that Cakely is looking at, Cake Studio is looking at, probably in Turkey. Just mention all those cake providers in your spaces. All cake lovers, you're welcome to look at all these spaces and say, as Juice Bakery goes into even now, being able to look at how much a 5-tier cake is costing from her costs of production, because now she knows her costs of production. This is the figure to make a 5-tier cake. But what does a 5-tier cake look or cost in these spaces? I'm benchmarking. These are people providing similar products. The same applies to photography. We have the truckers, we have, apt media, we have versatile photographers. And here I'm coming as Mulama Brenda Photography. Am I able to also benchmark and say, how is apt doing it? How is a trucker doing it? For an event like this, what are they doing? If they are going to stream an event live, what are the costs involved, costs of production? What does their costing look like for a similar product? Those are important things that we need to look at. And the reflection once again, do you know your competitors? What are your competitors currently charging? Please do not be oblivious about some of these things. Do not be like an ostrich, hide your head somewhere and think this, for me, I'll work my things out. It's important that you get to know, what are my competitors charging? I was once told of a story that happens a lot in the dairy production in this country. When you look at the dairy areas, I think the providers, you have the Jessers, you have Mega, you have Fresh Dairy, you have Lato and all these other things. You know, these are guys who are always also benchmarking and looking at a couple of the things, and they are using several pricing strategies, but some of these are also informed. Jessa will look around and say, okay, this is what we are bringing onto the market. Of recent, they've just rebranded, you know, they're giving us value for their products and everything. And I know a couple of others have also been rebranded. So as it comes on the market, there are certain things that are coming. But as they are doing that, they've gone into the market, they've been able to engage us, the customers, they use their products teams and the sales teams to go out and see what do the other people who are providing similar services, what are they charging and what are they offering. So even you, dear small, you call yourself a startup, a small and medium, whatever it is, even us, that is a journey that we take. What are your competitors currently charging? Are you aware of this? And then later go back and look, should I charge more or less than they are charging? And should you make that, that decision? What is informing it? Don't charge more because you feel like, you know, I will be getting most people or most customers. What informs the charging? What informs that you go and charge less? Because if it is not the cost of production, if it's not the value you're bringing, if it's not the market demand, if it's not the purchasing or spending power of your customer, then you might go amiss. Remember, I said you are not going to contribute to the death of the company by digging this grave as a result of not knowing your strategy at the end of the day. Thank you for the teams that are sharing the questions. I'll come back to those questions along the way. Keep them coming through. I've already spoken about the price tags. There is the value that I've mentioned, the benefit your product or your service provides. When I talked about cake, I said, you know, for us, the people who might come as juice cakes or juice bakery, what is that benefit I'm providing away from what Bake For Me and all these other people are providing? It could be that my cakes will take you to a journey of having reduced medical costs. Why? Because they are healthy cakes. Am I saying that the competitors' cakes are not healthy? No, but I need to be able to articulate what that benefit is. What would make someone actually come for my cake? So what value are you giving? What is your customer willing to pay for that value, not the product? Many times we focus on the cake. I am going to be able to also do a 5-tier cake at this price, which is a good thing. But what is your customer willing to pay for the value that comes out of your 5-tier cake? It could be that your 5-tier cake actually can feed 150 people, yet someone else's 5-tier cake literally feeds 50. So what is that value that you're giving to the customer? Are you able to communicate the benefits in a compelling manner? Like you have to come to juice cakes, because juice cakes, like we've said, you just don't take a cake that is sweet and everything. Juice cakes are healthy. Juice cakes will find you in your home, most probably. Juice cakes are, you know, convenient to have. Juice cakes will serve bigger numbers, you know, all those other things. What is that value? And like I said again, reflection. What am I currently charging for my products or service? Is it too much? Is it too little? We are getting onto a journey of seeing how do our prices actually come through? Which prices do I need to adjust upwards or downwards? And like I said, if I need to go downwards, what is informing us? Give us data. Let us know that you're getting downwards because probably your costs of production have gone low, or you're getting upwards because of the market demand that is there for the 5-tier cakes. Reflection once again. So again, like I said, there are a couple of things that we should be looking at, even as business owners, but uniquely in your industry, uniquely in your sector, uniquely in your business and your service. As a cake owner, I'm going to price differently from a teacher, from a consultant, and even within cakes, like I said, it depends on what am I doing within the cakes. So different pricing methods, work for different businesses and products. And we want to look at some of those and be able to again go back. I'm using these examples, ladies and gentlemen, to get you into a thinking mode for your business. I am not coming to you and say, oh, I have seen you're into hospitality. This is how you should price. I can be able to do that, but on this call, this is not what I am doing. I'm able to share something and let you know when I'm in hospitality, these are the things I could look at. So I just got a couple of examples, and these are famous examples in our settings, but also in different spaces that you've been in, or even some that you've used that can help us get to know our pricing. Number one, we see people pricing based on setting different prices based on features. Many of you here are subscribers to DSTV, and I wanted to use that as an example. When it comes to DSTV, we all know there's Family Pack, there's Compact Plus, there's Premium, and all those other things. So each of these is coming with a price, and that price is tagged to a feature. The person having a Family Pack does not have the same features as Premium person or Compact Plus. So the people behind the scenes at DSTV are going to charge us based on those features. You want to go Premium, my dear, the price is going to be different because they are either add-ons, there are certain things that are not necessarily in your basic package. So are you able to look at some of those areas? Are you able to say, this is the product I have, and these are the features. Sometimes the features actually also draw us closer to the benefits that we were talking about. Then we talk about setting prices based on different customers. When you go to the gym, I love to talk about this, either the gym, some gyms even have other spaces, or even restaurants. Let me use the example of restaurants. When you go to the restaurants, they have different prices for different customers. We have a kiddie meal that comes at a different price. Many times in the restaurants, I find children meals are usually discounted. And that price is also supposed to inform this particular provider of a certain area or something that they want to do. So this person is literally saying, every time you come to this place, it's okay to carry along your children because children meals and all these things are discounted. So you're looking at a price based on a customer. It's used a lot in gyms, it's used a lot in restaurants, and I know many of you have done that. People who are into clothing and all those other things. We usually have discounts based on the customer. It could be children, it could be female, it could be gents, and all those other things. Then we set prices again for different quantities. You've seen those guys where we say, I am selling, recently I was talking to someone who is making bulk purchases of avocado and being able to redistribute and all that. And they said, I am selling, I'm charging this particular price for those that are going to take bulk who are making bulk purchases. I am having this particular, I'm making soap and all these other things. If you're taking, let's say 100 jerry cans, this is a price that I give you. So you are charging, you're setting a price that is informed by the quantity of what someone is taking. And then we have another area that we call the freemium. Now, freemium is basically you're giving away some of your products, a version of your products for free. That best example I could definitely get here and use is LinkedIn. So many of you, you could find your own best LinkedIn basic. You come, you can chat and all these other things. And then the rest of us have moved to premium and all these other things. So you find again, when I bring this service of LinkedIn, I'm saying, yeah, we can just have certain features given to this group of people for free. They don't have to pay anything, and they can take that. However, we can now charge the people who choose to come to premium. So in your business, you could also look at such avenues. There are areas where you say, this is premium. And here it's not saying discount, but definitely choosing a portion and saying, this we can give for free, this we can actually be able to charge it. And then finally, we talk about the discounts. You temporarily lower your services to be able to get more customers coming, more leads. I see this a lot in the pizza areas. I have so many entrepreneurs who are into the food businesses that usually do a lot of this. You've heard of the buy one, get one free. You've heard of the Wednesday, bonanzas, the Thursday bonanzas, and all those other things where they are giving you a discount at a particular time. When you come in on Wednesday, you buy one pizza medium, you get one large, those kind of things. And those can also be driven by certain prices. So as an individual, as a business, again, I would love us to focus. Which pricing model are you going to use? What works well in your business among the 5 that I've listed? And by the way, there are a couple of many others. I'm just picking those that we usually get to interact with as business people. Which one are you going to use? And why are you going to use it? You can't wake up in the morning and say, I'm just going to give discounts. As you give the discounts, will you still be in business? Are you able to remain in business as a result of that? Recently, I was talking to the MTN guys. You've seen them post, this WakaNet, WakaNet Pro, WakaNet Max, and all those other things. Someone comes and says, if you take our WakaNet Pro standard, you're going to pay 195,000 per month, and you have 20 Mbps. And, you look at it and you're like, okay, this can work for my business. And then within that, they say, oh, we have another package for you, for those that even have busier, getting into working on busier schedules, money teams and everything. Within that, we also have a premium offer where you pay a little bit more and then get more bandwidth at the end of the day. So as a business person, you look through and say, which pricing model works well for my business? Do not take a pricing model that works for your neighbor because you've seen them discount everything. You're saying, oh yeah, I think we can also discount. No, go back and look at your business and be able to say, what pricing model am I going to use and what informs that pricing model? How can I even employ the different ones? Because in some of our businesses, it's been a combination of many. You could be able to use a premium subscription and then bring a freemium and also put a discount. And these are driven by certain seasons, but also certain segments that you're looking at. So as you get through your business, are you able to identify and be able to look at those channels, the operations of the business that might trigger your mind to even adjust the pricing model, or you're stuck to one? From the time you launched, you're saying, for us, we are just going with TV subscriptions. Sometimes you need feedback from the customers to be able to tell. There are so many pricing strategies, like I've mentioned, quite a number. And like I said, these are pricing strategies that you members have been able to work with and identify with and be able to test. And some of them you've tested and they've failed, or others you've tested and they've been good, others you're still revisiting. But allow me to just share a couple that, again, we see many of you using on the market. And like I promised, I am promising to come back and look at each of them in detail, especially for unique businesses that might be on the call. But these are basically some of those that we use. You price based on your value, like I said, competition. Some of us are doing price scheming. You look through, others are just doing cost plus. This is the cost of production. I'll just add a margin. Others are using penetration. Like I said, this is common in the dairy industries, people who are into dairy. We see economy pricing. You've seen the issue with fuel and everything, and then dynamic pricing. I'll come back to most of those, but I want us to focus deeper and say, when should you consider reviewing your pricing strategy? And before I share that, I just want a couple of you to, again, post in the chat box. Maybe you have some thoughts. When did you take a step to revisit your pricing strategy, or when do you think you need to revisit your pricing strategy for the case of the people who are here? These are some of the turning points for me and for the different people that I've seen. People have revisited their strategies at the time of just launching. I am coming into cakes and I just pick a model and say, this is what will work for me based on what I've gotten on the market in terms of my research. Others are getting into spaces where they've reached a certain milestone. You know, you've been in a business for some time, you've had some traction, and you've been able to hit your numbers and everything, and you're like, okay, we need to revise our strategy, our pricing strategy. Some of them are revisiting because there is a clear problem. Like I said, if you keep losing people to your competition or anything, you have to come down and sit and say, why are we losing people to competition? Is it a case of pricing? So a clear problem could come back and also inform why you're revisiting your pricing strategy. Others, it's just expanding. I was just into cakes. I've now introduced an academy. I've now introduced, you know, cake designing and all those things. That can cause you to revisit the strategy. Others, it is just feedback from your sales. Like I said, you've been taking out sales and customers are churning, they are saying all these things, and that makes you revisit your strategy. I know some of these are things that you have experienced or you're yet to experience, but you could be able to actually resonate and say, oh yeah, at this point we had to change our market strategy. Your leadership, if you've been recently acquired, I mean, new management could come in and say, this doesn't work for the goals and the vision we have for your business, for our business. So we just need to revise the strategy. Some of you are getting into new markets. Sinapis is in over 9 countries. The pricing strategy we started with in Kenya and Uganda will not work for Mozambique. We are like, as we get into this new market, this is how we need to focus on our strategy. And like I said, the strategy can make or break your business. If you don't get this clear, you're going to have an issue with the business. Like I said, because I said pricing is the language of the marketplace. Your customers, your stakeholders, your suppliers are going to be speaking pricing everywhere that you connect. So make an effort to understand. Do we have people who have gotten it right? I think we have. Globally, we see some companies that have come up with clear strategies in their pricing and they are making money. They are profitable, they are growing. But we will not only look at local companies. We have companies to benchmark on even here. I mean locally, not just looking at globally. There are people that have revisited and they keep going back. They keep going back in whichever seasons to say, you know, now this is what we need to look at. This is how the market looks like. This is what the customers are saying. And as they do that, they are able to be what? To come up with the right prices. So I'm going to ask once again, how much should you charge for your product? As a business owner, how much are you charging for your product? It's a Are you charging too little? Are you charging too much? I usually say when it's too little, if it's not informed by the things that I'm talking about, there will be no sustainability. If it's informed by areas that are too much, there will be no customers. Okay, I see a message. Someone is saying, Rosemary, are you still able to hear me?
Yes, we hear you clearly.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, someone was mentioning that they seem to have lost me. Yeah, so I'm saying, how much are you charging? How you price your product or service can have a big impact on your business. If you ask people to pay too much, like I said, for your product or your service, they will stop buying. We've seen some of those areas. And yet, even when you ask too little for your product, many times you're going to find that your profit margins are actually sliding away, or your customers start to assume that, you know, your product is actually poor quality. The right price, like I usually say, the right price takes into account all the areas I've talked about. Your costs of production, you're maximizing your margins while remaining attractive to your customers. So the question once again for all of us that are on this call, revisit, am I being too little? If you are, the business is not going to be profitable. Am I being too much? If you are too much, like I said, you will lose all of us to your competition. You lack the customers. And then the question is, again, I said uniqueness of business. How little is too little for you? And how much is too much for you? Like I said, get into the practice of being able to take into account all these other things. You need to introduce a price point that secures your business in the market. How does it secure the business in the market? You've taken into consideration your costs, you're maximizing your margins as a business, you're satisfying your customer. Because remember, I said you should not come to us as being too cheap. Sometimes when you're too cheap, for us, our assumption is that there is no value in this. So it is actually a poor quality product. So focus on satisfying that customer and give your business scope to thrive and evolve. So as an entrepreneur on this call, are those areas being merged in your pricing decisions, in your strategy? Even as you say, I am choosing to be value-based pricing. Are those areas coming through? Because you could be giving us value, we are satisfied, but you're bleeding in terms of costs as a business. And I usually say that we need to be driven by the numbers, the data. What are the customers saying about your product? The teams, some of us have sales teams that go out, or even you are the sales team. If you're such a startup that is coming up, you are the sales team. When you're selling, when you're making leads, if you're not seeing people come through, or if you're seeing many of the people you've talked to are going to competition, it's time to come back to the drawing board and say, what is it? Are you having several people that you are talking with? Because when you talk to people, your pricing becomes actually effective. You're able to get a buy-in from different people and say, maybe we need to add this. Maybe this is what the customers are saying. We cannot afford to start pricing based on gut feelings, based on emotional decisions. You know, one time, let me share the story. One time, we lost a family member. We were in Zambia hospital, and then we went with a couple of relatives. The nearest place I think was in Zambia, and then Katwe. We needed a coffin. And I remember we were moving around with different people and looking through the prices of these particular coffins. And then we went into a particular shop. They had given us some prices. And I remember going, as these people were bargaining somewhere, I walked into another shop where there was a lady. And I said, you know, how much is this coffin? Similar to some that we have seen and taken a decision on. And then she gave me a price that was almost half the number, half the price of what we had seen. So, you know, I got so interested, of course, excited that I was going to get something at a cheaper price while the other people were negotiating. But I got interested as an entrepreneur and also a support person to just understand, why is this particular coffin cheaper than all your different counterparts here in this place? And then, so we had a conversation. I said, but you see, it has I had seen the features. Why is it cheaper? Then the lady said, Munange, kati bali batunda, let me translate in Luganda. He said, if bali batunda million bidi, kati nze bwe ntunda million bidi sijja kola. So I've decided nkole mu kitundu oba kamu. You know, like, she cannot sell at 2 million just like her neighbors, because if she does that, she's not going to sell at the end of the day. So she has decided to slash a full 1 million or something like 500 to be able to sell. And that does not guarantee that she's going to sell at the end of the day. But when I got interested and we started talking deeper, I realized this was a gut feeling, emotional decision, not informed by customer feedback, sales feedback, and things that I've talked about, like cost of production. I call that peer pressure pricing. Your neighbors are charging at this, let me go immediately. So this is a person who has not taken into consideration a cost of production, what the market demand was. I actually asked, so she said, this is what I get the person who delivers them here, I pay this amount of money. And just out of interest, I was like, this person is making a loss. But she was so comfortable. She said, for me, as long as I am just putting, she feels that will attract the people, which is a good thing to do, but she's at a loss. So we don't want to make pricing that is not effective based on emotional decisions, uninformed decisions. And your job is to then understand the dynamics. That's what I was telling this lady. Understand the market dynamics and the trends, even in the coffin industry. What does it take for you to bring this kind of coffin here? You're paying rent, you're paying, you know, all these other things. Maybe I could be saying, okay, I can sell at 1.5, but I don't pay rent. Rent is made by my father. So am I going to price like Rosemary, who is paying rent at the end of the day? Do you understand that cost at the end of the day? Do you understand the willingness of the customers to pay for that coffin at the end of the day? Are you making the best decision to be profitable? Because you could be wanting to grow, but you're not profitable at the end of the day. And we want you to speak that language of getting the right price. Monitor performance, get feedback, make adjustments along the way. Don't be stuck to one thing at the end of the day because that's what you want to see. And that's why I say, let's stay close to the numbers. It's important that we stay close to the numbers. The numbers will help you deal with a couple of things, because this is where many of us actually lose that game. You, like I said, you're going by what the neighbor is doing, but the business is bleeding within. So some of the questions I usually ask, are 50% of your customers on your premium price? Remember, for the people that we were talking about, do you have 80%, for example, of your customers on a basic plan? Is your sales team discounting too much on a specific pricing plan? You know, sometimes your sales teams will come back, oh, people are not buying this and this, and they're not looking at the bigger picture, but because they want a certain sale and everything, and then you find you're discounting, at the end of the day, you're not making money. Are you having negative gross margins? Are you losing too many deals to the competitor? These are things that you need to be focusing on and look at. Now, we have standards in pricing that we talk about. Even in these areas, they usually tell us in pricing that you need to the recommendation is that 25% of your customers should be on your basic plan. Now, if you're already at 80, it's alarm, bling, bling, you need to come down and revisit this plan. It's supposed to be just 25 on your basic plan. Sometimes they say move to 50% of your customers if you have a middle level plan. And then they usually say 25% should be on your premium. So you see, number one, if you have 50 of your customers on the premium, you're already over and above. And we need to come back and recognize that there are pricing issues here. If 80 of your customers are on your premium plan, it means your product could be too cheap. And you don't want to take that message out there to your customers. If not that, it also means that you have room to create an even more premium offer. So start looking at some of these. But the most important thing is I don't want you to communicate that you're too cheap for your customer out there. If more than 50% of your customers are on your basic plan, you could be offering too much value already. And that means that if you're offering too much value on your first plan, then it will not justify for you to come and even come up with a next plan or premium that you want to give. And as people look at that, sometimes people are going to come and say, maybe you're too expensive, or you have to come and just start justifying your costs. So start looking at some of these things. What are the pricing issues that you have? Do you even know the percentage of your customers on some of these subscriptions, your basic plans and everything? And some of you will come and say, I don't even have a basic plan. It's as simple as saying, my cake is this price. Maybe that is the basic plan. Then you say, those that come for premium, it shall be this price for this tier of cakes. Then start seeing how many of your repeat customers or even the customers that are coming are in that direction. I said, let's stay close to the numbers, entrepreneurs, because if we are not close, it's going to be an issue. Finally, I want to talk about picking a place to start. These are things that are so complex, like I said. When we talk pricing, people are just like, for me, it's the accountant. It's not accountant. It's all of us in the business. Because when you don't get the price right, the other areas are going to struggle. There are people that are coming to do your finance assessments and everything. We will somehow go back. Because if your cash flows are not matching up, the business is going to struggle. It doesn't matter how much capital raise we are going to make. There are going to be challenges. So find a place to start at, entrepreneurs. You could look at a couple of things. What are my conversion rates? As you talk to the entrepreneurs, what are your to your leads, the customers that you have? What does it look like? What are the market trends that you're in? What is the competitive landscape looking at? The people who are into photography, what are they doing? What are the sales and customer feedbacks that you're getting? I've talked about the margins. regardless of where you start, I usually say these three things will put you at a right space to start off as either a startup or as an individual. Understand the costing you operate at, understand the market, what is happening in the market, and understand what your customer is willing to pay. I think, Rosemary, I will first pause here to kind of get any questions that the teams have at the moment, and then you will guide me if we can be able to close up. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Juliet. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been excellent. And I think that if you have questions, please post them in the chat. I've not seen any questions yet. Yes, we will share the presentation, but I think that this has been really very, very informative. And Juliet, you have touched on, I loved when you said price is compensation for your effort. And ladies and gentlemen, we need to think of price that way. Compensation. So for everything that I'm selling, am I being compensated? Because if you're not, then rethink. I think that was critical. I also like that you shared the pillars on which our pricing is built, the unit cost. It is important for us in business to know, to understand not just the overall cost of production, but the unit cost. If I am making pens, how much does it cost me to make one pen? You may be charging thousands, but you must be able to get down to the basic of what does it cost me to make that one pen, the unit cost of that pen. Once you understand the unit cost, and then it's easy for you then to make sure that you're pricing right. The issue of competition, benchmarking your competition is very critical. You've also touched on the issue and value, the value of the product. What value are you bringing onto the market? And that for me touches on the issue of branding. You know, value is associated with your brand. Somewhere on your slides, you shared a slide that had different logos. And I kept saying, for each of us here, I think the reflection is my product or service branded? How much awareness is in the market about my product? How am I communicating my brand? Because at the end of the day, the value we're talking about, the premium you're able to charge, is related to the value that you are bringing on the market, and that is associated with your brand. So we must have a brand. We must make sure there's brand awareness, and that slowly the market gets to know my brand and associate value with my brand. That's why when we go to, for us ladies who buy handbags, there can be two handbags, right? A handbag that has no name to it and looks exactly like the other handbag, but the other handbag has a name. It's a Michael Kors. The Michael Kors will charge you $100. The other bag is $10, but I'm telling you, because of the brand name, the value associated with Michael Kors, we shall pay the $100 and leave your bag of $10 on that side. Okay, you get. So we need to start branding early, so that over the years, over time, as you continue in the market, and you're continuing to provide value, then the customer associates your brand with value and is able to pay premium. So I thought that was critical. So let's look at any questions as okay, I think there is a, I'm looking at the questions on the, okay, Ludovico Zirimenya. Juliet, are you hearing me? I'm reading a question for you from.
Yes, please.
Oh, I've just, hold on. Where are the questions? Just a moment.
I have my hand up, Rosemary.
Okay, if you have, who is that? Please go ahead and ask your question. Millie, is that Millie Katana?
Yes.
Please go ahead and ask.
Yes, thank you, Rosemary. And thank you very much, Juliet. You touched on very, very pressing issues in my business. The peer pressure effect on pricing. Given the kind of competition some of us are in the service industry, and to be specific, health sector, you know, and there are so many of us doing the same thing. Some of our competing colleagues, their cost of production is a fraction of mine. What do you advise that a person like me can do? And that is on peer pressure pricing. And the issue of the spending power of the clients. Again, in the health sector, unlike hair salons, where I choose when to go to the salon, for the health sector, I come to the clinic when I'm sick, and most Africans are not prepared to be sick. What advice would you give, Juliet? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Millie. So Millie, I hope I got you right. You're saying you have a challenge with peer pressure pricing,
Yes.
and you're not alone. It actually happens in among many of us as startups and everything, especially when you're trying to test out your idea, you're just benchmarking and all these other things. There's
Like
usually
like your coffin woman.
yeah, there's you, because we are also, it's a psychological and emotional kind of thing, and yeah, I didn't talk about psychological pricing because in the business world we also talk about psychological pricing. Like I said, you're coming into a space where you're scared, you're like, I'm not going to sell if I put things up and everything. But Millie, I will draw you back to again what I mentioned earlier, where we look at our business critically and look at the numbers. There's a reason why you're in business, and there are certain things that are informing your business. Like I mentioned, someone needs to be on mute.
How are you? So what did you decide? When? No.
Somebody please mute.
I think
Please
someone
mute.
needs to mute. Yeah. So I was saying that you definitely have to look at your business. First of all, yes, you've looked at your sector. And for me, I usually say these pricing issues, everything around business rotates around your customer. And that's why we start off by taking you on a customer discovery journey for you to define your segments, right? Even within health, including a hospital where we say all people are sick, but not all people should be treated in your hospital. So going back to look at those segments, and there are certain things that we look at in those segments. One of the things I love talking about is segmenting those people based on a couple of things. For example, I've already said, the person you are providing this service to, let me talk about the cake person. Do they have a deep need for cakes? Now, I'm going to benchmark myself with Rosemary. I'm assuming Rosemary is not a sweet tooth, and I'm a sweet tooth. Like I mentioned, I love cakes, I love everything. So if there is a Millie who is a baker, and Millie is going to pay attention to all of us, the returns are going to be different. Rosemary does not have a deep need for cakes. So that means that Rosemary, much as she might actually come to buy some cakes from you, she's not going to be a loyal customer because the need is not there. Actually, she might not even ever walk into your bakery or everything. So the thing is that sometimes we, the entrepreneurs, make a mistake. We get to segments that, number one, do not have a deep need. I usually say, have you evaluated that depth of need for that customer? We are applying 80% of our resources, 80% of our time to people who do not have a need for this product or service that we are offering. And because that is happening, we are getting into decisions like this MIDI that make you start pricing based on peer pressure. Number two, is your customer, that one, if you find they have a deep need, do they have a budget to purchase your product, to purchase your service at the end of the day? I could have a deep need. I have a need for cakes, but I don't have a budget to eat cakes weekly. So I eat them quarterly. You understand? And that is going to define my purchasing power or spending power when it comes to your business, or now you use your business, like you said, the health business or whatsoever. And when I'm not that kind of person, that means I'm not going to be loyal to you in terms of the business. So as you look at these target customers, you look at those behaviors of your customer, then you start looking at a pricing strategy that is going to work for you. Because like I said, if you have 80 of them in your channel, the ones you're focusing on, they don't have a need, they don't have a budget, they are not loyal, it's high time to move. Either redefine the customer segment or now start to redefine the strategy you want to give to them. So it's important for me. I say that journey starts with understanding your customer, your segment, and the value you're bringing to the market. For sure, if you're bringing me healthy bakes that are going to ensure that I am not sick, I can take them as a diabetic person and all those other things, then I'm really, really in need of this, and I would want to be able to pay for that. Now, many of us are missing that, and then it makes us price in a wrong way. So Millie, I want to drive you back. Let's define the people you want to focus on, your customer, because I say not everyone is your customer in the business. You're going to zero down what is my solution that I'm bringing, who is it meant for, and start pricing based on those other areas. I don't know if it makes sense. I told you your target customer should be very clear. Some prefer value, like there are people who don't care which cake they eat. They just eat cake. So if you have those that prefer value, and then you will have a totally different pricing strategy. Like I told you, a value-based pricing. Others prefer luxury. At the end of the day, they don't even want to hear if the cake tastes well or not. As long as it is put, it has so many names and all these other things, they will take it. Are we together? So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Lovely.
Thank you,
so
Juliet.
much.
Let's have now Mile Katana, your hand is up. Mile, after Mile, we'll have Joseph Kayongo and then Maria. Maria, in that order. Mile, are you still on? Okay, Joseph, are you on?
Yes, I'm on.
Okay, you have the floor.
All right, I would like to thank you for the presentation, and I would like to thank Enterprise Uganda for the good work and the initiative to put up such kind of sessions. However, I have a question about pricing. What do you think, or which percentage could it be after all the costs of production and everything you've involved into producing something onto the market? What would be at least the minimum or the least percentage of an increment in the costs of production? That is my question. Thank you.
Okay, Juliet, is that question clear to you?
Yeah, it's clear. Maybe I'll get all, then respond.
Okay, let's take the next question from Maria RS Ruto. RS Otto, are you on?
Yes, Rosemary, I'm on. Good
Okay,
morning. Good morning, everyone, and good morning to you, Juliet. Thank you for the insights. And we at RS Auto and Engineering Works have recently been contemplating changing our pricing strategy because of two main reasons. There is one fact on ground, Juliet, that our value is top notch, okay? And our customers have also confessed to that. But what I want to ask is, where are we going wrong? Because our customers still say that the price is high, even if on our part, we still have, we don't pay rent, for example, but our cost of production is the one that makes us charge maybe 5 to 10% markup on our prices. But our customers still say that the price is high. What strategy can we best adopt among these strategies, really? Because we don't want to compromise on our value. We want to maintain our value while also making our customers happy. So how do we strike that balance? And then the second question is about selling different items. Recently, we've also been contemplating subscription for some of our clients who come to the garage, and you know, trying to meet those basic clients who cannot afford a one-off payment, where we're telling them, you know, pay this amount a month, so that anytime you come to the garage, you can be worked on. But I would like to know how sustainable such a policy can be, especially given the trends in the market. You understand the market trends and pricing. So I would like some advice on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria. That's good. Let's take one more. We'll have Muhanguzi Michael. Michael, are you there? Monday, Robert, your hand is up too. Are you on, Monday?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Who is this?
Okay,
Muhanguzi Michael, please go ahead and give your question. Make it short, and then we'll have Monday, Robert, and then we'll have Juliet respond to those questions.
Oh, thank you. My name is Muhanguzi Michael from Kazu. My question would goes like this. What effect on pricing when I determine my price comparing with the other producers or other prices on the market if I'm dealing with in the same sector? What could be the percentage of effect on my company or on my price when I'm comparing with other prices in the market? Thank you.
All right, thanks, Michael. So Monday, are you on? Monday, Robert?
Yes, here I am.
All right.
Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. I work with My More Property, and we sell quality and affordable apartments, condominiums in high-end places, Nigeria and area. But now my question goes on prices. The question I have here is, what is the customer willing to pay for our products? We face a challenge whereby a customer is willing to pay this amount, and for us, we rent, developers, everything we combine, and this is what we are looking at the end, and the customer is not willing to pay that. What do we do in that case? And we are also battling with banks, where banks are giving the mortgage to our customers, and then they are also seeking more commission, which is making the product to go high and high. In this case, what do we do?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Robert. So over to you, Juliet. Please respond to that those questions. Then we shall take on a couple of more questions. I see more hands up.
Thank you, thank you. Monday, Michael, and a little bit of Maria. I'll come back to the basics, but they all had one particular common question around this markup caps, what is the percentage and everything. I want to first of all start, because we still have recommendations, but I still want to draw us back to some of the things that I said. Pricing strategies and product selling prices are by no means a definite. That one I want to let you know. Why am I saying that? That, you know, sometimes you could be like, I will give you an example. I have a business where right now we are saying, and we are targeting and saying our cost of production, the minimum is between 5 and 10. And for this particular season, it's been able to work for us. But as we grow, as we engage more customers, as we bring on new products, as the market trends change, as the economics around, so many things are changing, like we now know fuel prices and everything, a lot of that now gets to change. So I want to first address that area where people are like, if I work at this minimum, if I work at this recommendation, I'll be good to go. Some of these are not definite. What I advise is that you should continually assess your plan. I believe you have a pricing strategy or a pricing plan. Continually just assess it and benchmark it on some of those areas that I've mentioned. It could be in this season, you're benchmarking against competition. Like I think Monday who said, you know, was it Michael, that people are not coming, they are not coming to pay and all those other things. Try benchmarking against the competition. The people who are providing that service, what are they doing? And make changes whenever something isn't working as you anticipated. And then the other thing I want to say is that your decision-making process can be dictated by simple matrices. Do you know, I keep telling business people, these simple matrices are simple as your sales figures and the churn rates. You know what I call the churn rates? The customer feedback. Many of us are kind of alienating ourselves from the customer, and we are not getting some of that good feedback that would help us. For a person who said, these people are not paying for the product, yet they are saying it is good. Those two things are already not matching. You can't be saying my product is of value and you don't want to pay for it. And definitely that can happen. But now let's go back to the drawing board. Why would you love my cakes and then you're not willing to pay for them? Let's go and find. For me, many times, even as we do assessments with entrepreneurs, it's a case of me, the business owner. I am making assumptions around this customer. This is not the right customer for me. Because if the customer, remember I said, is there a benefit? If they have a deep need, they have this need for this product, they are going to get into places of either they find the budget, or if they can't find the budget, then you have no business dealing with that person. So I wanted to make that very clear in terms of the areas where we are saying these people are coming and everything. And I keep telling people, pricing is not just a number. It is having a clear strategy. It's partnering with your marketing team if you have it at any stage. You know, it is being able to come and get people to shape a message internally for you as a business and your customer at the end of that day. It's a team effort. You're having people who are going out and saying, what does this look like? Our costs of production are here. We are on our markup. But how come this segment we are focusing on is not able to pay for that? Look, is it an economic situation? Because there are so many things to consider even when we are pricing. It could be that people right now are just going through a hard season. It's not, you know, there are multiple factors. Maybe taxes are stopping them at this particular point. Maybe the exchange rate, maybe the market needs, maybe the cost structures, maybe the international market. So all those things are things that we have to look at. And this often means that that exact product will have a higher price in a particular location, because even location affects that. So I want us to be able to look at that. Maria, my advice for the past bit that you said, these people are not buying, for me, I'll still take you back. And if you're willing, please, I shared my number. I want to take you through revising your customer segments. There are lots of things. I think the gap is there. For you to be having people that see value and they are not willing to pay, there are things that we need to talk about. Because like I said, you will be bringing out all these other things, but they are not willing to pay. So I am of a view that it is the segment that we need to look at. And remember, even the segments, we have priority, we cluster them. There are those that are priority, there are those, we talk about potential customers, visionary customers. I want you to be able to look at that. You could be spending a lot of time on potential customers, people who are about or willing to come your way. So I know we don't have much time, but I think it is revisiting your customers and your segments to make sure which ones are profitable, because we have customers that are not profitable. We have customers that are not leading us to growth. The next gentleman I think he asked, who was that? Was it Monday or something? Not Monday, but the gentleman after Maria, please remind me. I think I've forgotten the name. I think for you, one thing I'll say, again, let's do the maths. I think it's a case of let's do the math. One of the things I keep talking about is, yeah, you could be selling and then these things, but we go back to, it's not just looking at your cost of production, by the way. It is being able to even go back and say, how many units, how many services, how many sessions must I have for me to break even? So I want us to even be able to look at simple things like, at what point will I break even? At what do I need to put together? What units should be sold for me to even be able to say that I'm making money, I'm becoming profitable? And that can be also a decision, even as we do price strategies, or as we choose price strategies that we want to be able to look at. So of course, I don't have the details of how your business is, but I would want to advise that it goes beyond just saying this has been our cost of production. After the cost of production, can we look at going back to exact, like how much should you sell for you to even come up to that particular price? I think that is very important. Then Michael, I've answered Michael, clear strategy, get your markup. Also as well, revisit your customer segment. I think we are spending a lot of time to people who are not bringing us profitability. And then the first gentleman asked the minimum markup. Now, this is what I want to note. Of course, yeah, like I said, there are recommendations. If you are at 25%, if you are 20, some people will tell you 5 to 10. Those are numbers that we can give. But my dear fellow entrepreneur, I think for me, like I said, let's first go back. Number one, the phase of what we are, I mean that the value of the service we are bringing to the customer. And then, of course, yeah, I've talked about the overall running costs, but taking, you know, I usually say that pricing needs to take every one of the principles that we have mentioned into account, and it should be able to drive you to optimum profit. You have to go through your entire business with a fine-tuned, if I could say, you know, certain factors like Rosemary talked about brand development, team restructuring, you know, all these other things. Now, in my business, I could say, please, recommended is 5. But then I don't know the team dynamics in your business. I don't know the market or marketing budget in your business, all those other things. So for me, again, I'll take you back to yes, I can share the numbers, look at 5 to 10 and all those, but I want you to be able to just push it beyond the number and have clearly look at the entire structure. What changes do I need to make overall, not even just in the cost of production, because cost of production alone is not going to define it. You know, you need to be asking, okay, how much is it costing me to create this product? That is okay. How much is the customer's worth for me during the entire life cycle? Because you have the customer in the entire life cycle of this sales thing. So if you only went to the markup, you lose on this bit of the customer life cycle at the end of the day. Just do the maths. Maths as simple as gross margin is the difference between revenue and the cost of goods divided by revenue. We look at that figure and then now we start coming back to all the other factors. I hope that is helpful. For any other person who wants further discussions, please, I am happy to get into answering these questions further. I shared my number and I'll share it again and my email. Let's talk, let's get onto the call. I desire that we get this pricing thing right because we need to see profitable businesses.
Thank you very much, Juliet. That was, yeah, I think the emphasis here is know your customer. So as you talk about pricing, we need to know who are my 20% customers who contribute 80% of my revenue. And those 20%, you must know them. And so as you talk about all these things, it's based on the feedback you're receiving from those 20%. So that's really nice. So let's hear also from now Acham for Charles, and then followed by Pengson, and then Charles Lagu. Those are the names that you've registered here. So Charles, are you present? Or Pengson or Charles Lagu, whoever is present, please, you can go ahead and ask your question. Your hands are up.
Thank you. Thank you, Rosemary, and thank you, presenter. I have 2 questions. One is, Madam Presenter, is the issue of expiry, or when you stock like these agrochemicals or the agro inputs for a long time, because like last season, the dry season was a bit long, and you know, these things have expiry date. The question is, will that influence our pricing? And yet, you know that we had bought these agro inputs at a specific price, but because they have been stocked over a long time because of weather, because the dry season started like in April. So for almost 6-7 months, no rain, and therefore uptake is low, demand is low. What is your comment on that, especially on the pricing, and how do I not make loss? The second question is to do with if I'm to go into the market of livestock business, you know, it is quite a very protective business whereby the actors there don't want new people. So what a strategy can I employ so that I'm not cheated in the new market if I'm going to go into this market whether they are cattle traders, whether they are in Kampala, whether they're in these urban centers, they are very protective. So when you want to go, the competition is not easy. So I wanted your insight into that. Thank you very much for your good presentation.
Okay, thank you. Pengson, are you there? Charles Achamfwa, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay, Charles.
Yes. I'm Charles Achamfwa from Zombo, West Nile, and I do coffee agribusiness, where we train our farmers to produce quality coffee, process it, and add value to it, and then seek for the market. But we have got a real problem in pricing, because coffee price normally is determined by the world market, and it changes regularly. Within 1-2 weeks, the price has changed. You come up with your strategy to come up with a good price that can be paying to you, but the world market changes, and the dynamics in pricing is so much. I don't know what you can advise us on how we can do this, but thank you very much for having all the presentation I've been following. But we have customers both within and outside, but the pricing is determined not by us really, but by the world market. What advice can you give us? Thank you.
Thank you for that good question, Charles. And then Pengson.
Yes, hello.
Yes.
Are you getting me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. Pengson Ahomza. Just like it's a complicated name, as you earlier said. And I work with Canaan Wine and Alta Wine, located here in Kabwe Shema. Madam Juliet and Enterprise Uganda, I want to thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. And my question is about pricing still. Now, in a market, for example, we wine makers, we have gotten a problem of competitions, especially those wines that are from outside. People bring inside the wine for selling. Then when you reach in a market, then for them they may tell, no, this wine is from Kenya, so we are unable to buy your wine because it's not on the standard. Because yeah, people are buying. We have our people here who are buying, but when you reach outside, let's say outside Shema municipality in Kampala market, then you will find different products of wine, and people may tell you, no, this wine from Western, and we have our quality wine here, so we cannot be able to buy. But some buying, some are not buying. So in order to create a big market for my product, so my question was, what should we do to make sure we can compete with those outsiders, not to challenge us? Because we have quality products, because people have ever tasted it, they know its taste, but that is the only issue. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. We'll have the last one from Emily Natkunda. Emily?
Yes, thank you, Rosemary. Thank you, Juliet. Emily Natkunda from Belazuri.tg, a company that manufactures color cosmetics and skincare products. Juliet, you talked about pricing strategies, value-based pricing, competitive pricing. To my case, it is a point where you find we have no competitor, because the products we are going to be producing are literally not on this market, not produced or manufactured in Uganda. You find we have our streets and our cosmetics shops flooded with fake products from whether Congo or any other outside countries. And we are here to give quality, to the cosmetics world. You find we are manufacturing lipstick in Uganda, manufacturing concealer, primer, foundation, and no other company is doing that in Uganda. So if I am to come up with a pricing strategy, which of the strategies you shared do you think would be appropriate for pricing these specific products in a space where I don't have any competitor as of yet, apart from maybe the skincare, but for the color cosmetics, the mascaras, the lipsticks, and all, and the lip balms, I don't have any local competitor. So kindly advise me on which pricing strategy you would recommend. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Emily, for that question. And so I think, Juliet, please go ahead and respond to those. But Emily, I wanted to add, there is no business that has no competition. So having no other manufacturers of cosmetics doesn't mean you have no competition, because the products are being imported, and so they are substitute products. So you must enter knowing you have competition. Over to you, Juliet.
Rosemary, thank you. I wanted to respond to that, and I want to correct Emily as soon as possible because I want to take her on a journey of doing some research. You said the product might not be in Uganda, but you want to market it. Everywhere you want to market that product, there is competition. And I can bet, just listening to the products that you are making, I can actually give you the competition that is there. So we will start off from there. We need to do our research well. There is competition for that service. But just to answer your question, what kind, in the event that you assume there is no competition, what kind of pricing strategy would you be willing to use? I think value-based pricing will come in handy. In value-based pricing, what we do is that you set your prices according to what customers think your product is worth. And this is quite a good pricing strategy for people who are into services. So the people will look at your concealers, your lipsticks and everything. And when you look at that value, you put a price, and if the customers agree that that is the worth of your product, then they will go for it. So for now, I would say value-based pricing strategy would work for you. I want to move. Emily, please mute yourself. Okay. I would want to move to my colleague, Cham, I think, who talked about expiring agrochemicals or some products that he has because of the dry season and all these things that have happened over a period of time. And as a result, if the products are definitely expired, a charm that is going to be a concern, because expired products can actually not be used. So we even advise that you don't even use them, and everything that might be a loss, because yes, the demand is low and everything, but we can't take out those products. So ideally, the pricing issue would have to be based on when you actually get the new chemicals or whatsoever that you need to use. But just again, listening back to the kind of work that you are talking about, I feel, and maybe I need to know which services within the agriculture that you're doing, cost plus pricing for you would also work well. And in cost plus, we are saying that, you just take the product production cost and add a certain percentage to it. I usually say that this pricing strategy looks simple and it's really ideal for anything around physical products. Like if you're doing a service, sometimes it becomes hectic. You have to look at a couple of other things, but it would work for you well. But just coming from a space of now the products are expired, all I can say, it's a loss. We now need to rethink. Then you said no market. I think you mentioned, how can we able to do
just some clarification. Just some clarification.
Yes, Charles.
Madam Juliet, the items, the agro inputs are about to expire. The reason being of low input and the effect of the weather that led to low demand. So the question is, will that, because maybe it's remaining 6 months, 7 months to expire, will that affect our pricing? Will you still stick to your guns and remain the original, or will it have effect? or
okay.
maybe you have to reduce. That was the question. Thank you very much.
Okay, I get it. So in that case, Acham, I think now we are going to benchmark on competitive pricing. So in competitive prices, what you're going to do, like I said, you're setting prices based on what the competition is charging. So can you now just go and benchmark with the rest of the people who are doing something similar to what you're doing? I usually call this circumstance-based kind of pricing that we usually go to. Now, like you have these products that are about to expire. You also need to go back to, because you can't stick to your previous price right now, because you have a circumstance. The moment you stick to it, like you said, either the products are going to expire and it might look like a bigger loss. So the thing to benchmark on right now is just to go back and look at what are your customers providing in the market, and what would be the cost of you either doing a downward or slightly upward price based on what you're getting into the market, to make sure that you give room for yourself to sell the products and not make a complete loss. So I would advise that in my case. Competitive pricing is more of scenario and circumstance pricing. You come and look at the issues at hand, like right now where we have prices of fuel going up. So we look at the market trend, the economy, and then we look at competition and say, this is what we can do. So I think that should be able to help you. And then somewhere along the way, you said, yeah, where there is no market, and then the competition, I usually say study, invest in knowledge around your competition and around the market. When you're into an industry, engage in knowing that. So I want to call you on a journey of even studying your competition more, because you mentioned that you study your competition in and out. You're not studying to pull them out. Sometimes you're even studying to bring them on board. They could be your cooperation agents and everything, but get to know what makes these people unique, get to know what their pricing strategy is. One of the guys we see in this country is CJs. CJs studies pricing strategies for so many beverage and whatever spaces around. So get to know their pricing strategy if you can. And these are things that we can do. You can learn, you can engage, you can talk to them, or even research about it. That will help you along the way. So Charles said change in the market due to I noticed market trends and everything. Charles, I think right now other pricing strategies could come in a combination, of course, of many, but your best touch right now, that the industry that you're in, I think dynamic pricing will come in handy. You know, what we do in dynamic pricing, like I said, that you're going to constantly change your prices to just match the current demand for the item. I think you are the person for the wines, if I'm not mistaken, and everything. So we are going to look, what is it in Kenya, the ones that are coming in, what is it like, how much are they selling them, and all that. You just try to look at that and take it in a form of a trend, match that current demand in a trend. What was it like in May? What has it been like in June? Something like that. And I usually say this doesn't work well for people who are talking about subscriptions because the customers expect constant, constant, if I could say, monthly and yearly or whatever expenses that are coming through in terms of their consumption. But I would advise that at this point, you're probably going to do a merge of dynamic pricing and economy pricing. But we could also review again based on the scenarios at hand. I answered Emily, then there was Pencon. I think Pencon, you'll also probably clarify, but from your sharing, I could also see, we will revise your cost of production, but then there's a costing, a strategy that sometimes people don't get to focus a lot, because I also find that sometimes, okay, it's not that adequate, but then it would help in your situation. There's something we call price scheming. And it's also a desperate way of also looking at things as we go along in the seasons of our businesses. So what you're saying is that if you set your prices as high as the market, as high as the market comes through, you probably kind of get people come through, and then maybe at some point lower them over a certain period of time, and then when something happens, then you again take them high. Like the word goes, you're just skimming through. You're trying to see, okay, are the prices high? What should I do? Where is my markup based on my cost of production, based on my value, based on the customer trends, based on what they are willing to pay? You kind of skim that way. The goal is to skim the top of the market, if you could see, and then also be able to see the lower prices and be able to reach everyone else. So for me, I think for you, for a start, you could be able to play around with that kind of scheming. With the right product, this particular strategy works well. I mark the words right product, it will work well, but you should be very cautious as you use it, because if you don't have your numbers in terms of market trends, in terms of what your customers are willing to pay, you can blunder. But I think it would help you in this season just to be able to look at the trends.
Okay, I think time is not on our side, but again, I would like to encourage you to put your questions in the chat room, and the chat room will stay open and we'll continue to respond to them. But there's a question here from Becca Mwanja, who said, I'm a commercial horticulture and diversification, something. How do we deal with pricing a perishable product? Maybe you want, and that is related to the product from Arua, that the expiring product. So how do you price perishable products is this question. If you can just respond to that one question, and then I would want us to bring this to a close, so that by 11 we are out, we are closed. Yes.
Okay, Mwanja, it's I would say it's a combination of many things, because even in the perishables, we need to be able to calculate selling as your selling price for each of these perishable products. We are going to even, it's many insights, if I could say, in terms of, charging for these. There are so many areas that we need to look at. The dynamic pricing model might come through for you, but it's again looking at many other factors within that for the perishable products. But for now, I could say consider just using the dynamic, because as you delay the product, you're losing it and all that. So at the time when probably you're looking at it and saying, okay, I'll make changes based on this. Are people buying in bulk? I'll do this. Are people willing to, am I willing to give a discount? I'll take it. A couple of
Have
other
we lost you, Juliet, or you had finished responding?
No, I'm saying for
Okay.
Mwanja, I was saying that most probably he just has to look at dynamic pricing, because there are so many things, and he will look at different models as the products go bad or are nearing going bad. You're basically looking, can I do bulk purchases and reduce on those? Can I do discounts and all those other things? So dynamically playing around with quantities and what the cost of production is.
All right. So thank you very much, Juliet. I think that this has been an excellent session, very informative, very insightful, and I want to believe that everybody has gone away with some learning, but also every business has a unique proposition and therefore a unique selling pricing strategy. So I think that, as Juliet has put it, if you need further help, she's available, we are available. And so we'll share her contact so that you contact her and then discuss your unique challenge, and then she can support you. But also I want to remind us to sign up. The links are shared. Sign up for the complimentary business health check from Enterprise Uganda. Sign up for the complimentary mentoring sessions from Enterprise Uganda. And then also, if you need Juliet to support you directly, we're going to share her details so that you're able to reach her. But this has really been very, very, very useful. And I think for me, as we close this, I want us three things that I want us to go away with that Juliet emphasized. One, stay close to the numbers. pricing is data driven. We need to record keeping. It goes back to record keeping. What are your sales records saying? Because for you to say, oh, the customers like our product, and yet the sales are not speaking the same language. And so your sales are the things. What are your customers saying? Feedback. Are you getting feedback from your customers? Are you listening to the feedback? Are you taking action? Because those numbers speak volumes, and they then tie into how you're able to price. So I thought that was very important. Then know your customer. Pricing is determined by my ability as a customer to consume your product. So you must know me, know my spending behavior, my income level, which group, which bracket. So segmentation, you must know your customer, you must segment your customer, and then differentiate your product so that you're pricing differently in response. And I think that goes into Maria's question, the RS Auto, because you have a good service, but look into your segmenting. Who is your customer? Maybe you're focusing on just individuals who are driving little cars. How about the four-wheel drivers? Those they're individual, but they're of a higher level. And so you must differentiate. Maybe you need to go into corporate. Have you looked at corporate clients? Maybe they are less sensitive to price changes. And so we need to know our customers, but also segment our customers. You can't have to say, all my customers are uniform. No. So your pricing must tie into your customers. So that KYC, I thought that was beautiful. And I want us not to forget, price is compensation. Ladies and gentlemen, you are in business to deliver value and receive value. And that value received is a compensation. So if you decide you're there for charity, then that is your business. But I believe that when we start business, we want to go in there to make income, to grow the business, make it profitable. And so you can only do that if you're actually compensating yourself. Other than that, you're working for nothing. So Juliet, this has been excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for sparing your 2 hours this morning and for the excellent questions. I want to urge you to take it through after here. Juliet is available. Please reach out to her while it is still hot, and let us support you to look at your unique challenges and be able to help you come up with the right strategy and grow your business, make it profitable, and then contribute to the fight against poverty by creating jobs. You are the job creators. The private sector are the job creators in this country, and we are the ones who have actually the key to economic growth and development of this nation. With those remarks, I would like to thank you very much, Juliet, for your time this morning, and to thank every entrepreneur and the loyal ones who have kept coming back. Please call a friend, invite a friend next week, next Thursday. We'll be back with another topic. And I think that we want to touch something on branding. I think that next week or the other week, we want to bring someone to talk to us about branding, because pricing ties in also with branding. And so, ladies and gentlemen, invite a friend. Don't come alone. This is too good, to be eaten alone. So let somebody else know and bring them in for the next week's session. We'll share with you. We're also going to share with you this presentation. The link will be shared so that you're able to go back through it, reflect, and be able to make changes in your businesses. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a blessed day and a blessed week.